Welcome to Monday Morning Moments. I'm Mike Van Hoozer. Today, I wanted to talk to you about discovering your purpose and calling in life. And I think when we think about life, we want life to have meaning. We want to create moments that matter, as we say all the time on the podcast and in some of the talks that we give with teams and with people. And it's so important that we find meaning in life. We only have one shot in life, and we need to make our lives count for what matters most. And so I want to walk through a series that we're going to do over the next 3 or 4 sessions that's going to help you, I think, in defining your purpose and calling and how to discover that in life as well. And this is applicable no matter what age you are. I think a lot of times when we're earlier in the seasons of our life, we think we have all the time in our world, and discovering our purpose and calling is for our later years or our senior years or the mid-40s or whatever that might be for you. But we don't think about it early enough. And I think it's really important if we want to make our lives count for what matters most. And then I think also I talked to a lot of older adults where you were thinking about, the later years of life and thinking, well, our lives have passed us by, or we already know what our purpose is, but we don't see meaning in some of the things that God wants to call us to in later years in life as well. And it's important, no matter what stage we are in life, that we define what our purpose is and that we walk into that day by day and moment by moment. So for today, I want to talk about discovering and defining your purpose, and then we'll talk more about that in the subsequent sessions that we'll do on this as well. So first of all, we have to define what is purpose and what is calling. And if we think about, a great organization, they'll have a mission statement. They'll have a purpose of why they exist. And to simplify what our life's purpose is, because if we think it has meaning and is meaningful for a company to have a purpose, then we must think it's meaningful and purposeful for us to have a purpose statement as well. And we were created for a purpose. And so the purpose is really just the why. It's our burning why, as my friend Spencer Tillman often says. It's our reason for existing. What is the reason that we get up every day? And if we think about why we exist, that can define what our purpose is. A lot of times people will use a synonym of calling for purpose as well, but the calling is a corollary to that, and a calling might be what we're called to do. And that may vary in different seasons of life as well. I have a great mentor, and I've quoted him many times. He's been a lifelong friend, and he talks about purpose and calling, and he talks about life. And his quote is that life is a series of assignments that gives clarity to our calling along the way. And I love that quote. He was helping me at a transition point in my life to really define what was next. And not that my purpose had shifted, but the next season of life, the stages of that, and the series of assignments that I was actually going to do and that I hadn't discovered yet, but that God was revealing to me in my life, he helped bring clarity to that by that quote, to say that, it's a series of assignments and it'll bring clarity to your calling more and more into view as you start to look at these assignments, both in the rearview mirror, as well as, as you look towards them and forward to them as well, and to anticipate great opportunity in those moments. So that's defining purpose and calling. It's our why and it's our what. Well, how do we discover that? If we can define it, how do we discover that? And I remember being in a 7 Habits of Highly Effective People class, and Stephen Covey actually was teaching this course. He wrote the great book. It's a classic, timeless book. Even though it was written a while back, it's still a great book today and still relevant today in our lives. And I actually had the opportunity to sit in on a class that he was teaching, and he was teaching these principles. And there was one point in the day-long session where he said, okay, we're going to give you 10 minutes and we're going to help you and allow you to develop your personal mission statement. That's how he defined a purpose statement, was your personal mission statement. And I thought about that, and there wasn't time in 10 minutes to really decompress about all the priorities and tasks and things I was missing for that day, and reflecting on my life and thinking about it going forward to really put depth into that. But this moment, this 10 minutes in time, was really just a starter piece to really think deeply about personal mission statement and purpose. What is that? Why has God created me, and what have I been called to do? And along the way, both on what I wrote down in the draft during those 10 minutes of time, but also it was as it was revealed in the subsequent days and weeks to me, is my personal mission statement or my purpose statement. And there are corollaries to this that I have in other areas of my life that I've written down. But this one is state true, and it really permeates every area of my life. And the thing that I clarified in that day, as well as the days to come, was this: to lead a life of significance by making a positive impact in the lives of other people. And I think that has clarified every aspect of my life, whether it be coaching I do with athletes or coaching I do with people, and maybe the things I do in different areas of my life, in my personal life, in my work life, and community life that I've gotten a chance to serve in. Leading a life of significance by making a positive impact in the lives of other people is broad enough to encompass all of the tasks and all of the things that I do in my life. And all of those words are important. I didn't want to focus on just being successful in the world's eyes. I wanted to lead a life of significance that made my life count for what matters most. And I knew that innate within me, the way God had created me, that I wanted to make a positive impact in the lives of people. I wanted to be with people. I wanted to share information, to listen, to ask questions, to help them make the most of their moments as well. And that's come through in the coaching I do, and speaking and writing as well. So I would encourage you to think about that, whether you call it a personal mission statement or whether you call it a purpose statement, to think about what does that look like? And maybe read some mission statements of great companies that you like or great brands, and then see how you could structure it in the same way, but personalize it for what means the most to you. You can also brainstorm on certain things that are important, whether it be people or goals that you have or things like that. But it really gets deeper beyond just achievements. You want to make sure that it's your why. Why do you exist? And one of the ways that you can do this as well is to look back on your life and look for themes. That's one of the things that I did in my own life, especially as it led to certain transitions. And so that way you can discover your purpose is looking for themes in your life. An example of this was early on in my career. I had people who would come into my office and they say things like this, I'm thinking about getting an MBA. What do you think about that? And at first I kind of wondered, what are they asking me for? I'm 2 years into my career, but yet they're coming to me to asking me for some advice that could be a major life moment for them as well. And when I started to look back in all of these moments and situations that I had been put in, and they were divine appointments, I believe, I saw that there was something there about coaching people and being a good listener, and being effective and asking the right questions, and then providing some insight for them to help them figure that out. And I started to embrace those themes in my life. I also got a lot of opportunities to speak to different groups. And two of the passions in my life, I'm spending a significant amount of time on now around leadership and performance in sports, business, and life. And those were themes that I studied, that I loved, that I gravitated toward, that I had a passion for. And so I think it's important to take a time out at certain points in your life and to look for what are those themes in your life. Are you good at leadership? Are you passionate about, vision and strategy? Are you good at, meeting with people and coaching them? Whatever it might be, look for those themes, because those will help you not only from a career decision standpoint, if you're trying to make a transition there, but also in a much deeper basis to think about what is my purpose in life and how are these themes and these moments that I'm experiencing bringing clarity, my calling and my purpose along the way. And then the final thing I want to share on this particular session of this series that we're doing on discovering and defining your purpose and calling is one of my favorite quotes. I've quoted it many times from one of my favorite poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he used to ask his friends, what has become clear since we last met? What has become clear since we last met? And if you're a close friend of mine or you've been a coaching client, I've asked that question of you. This is one of my favorite quotes. So we can't do a session on purpose without thinking about what that quote is and what that means. And you think about that question, what has become clear since we last met? I think there are three specific things that he was challenging his friends as he would ask them as they would do life together about. And the first is to be aware of data points or moments in your life, however you want to think about it. And you can think about it on any time frame. Think about it this past weekend or this past week or over the last month. What are some of the data points? What are some of the moments or the experiences that you've had? And they could be good moments. They could be valley moments. They could be kind of in the middle moments as well. But what have been some of those experiences that you've had in your life? I think we become more present and more engaged when we're aware of those moments in our life and what's been happening. And it's good to make sure that we reflect on those as well. Then also he talks about clarity, what has become clear. So as we think about the data points or the moments over the last week or the last month, what clarity have we drawn from those moments? I mentioned in my own life that people were starting to come to me for advice. And back when they were doing this, the role or the job of a coach was not really there. It was in sports, but not necessarily a life coach or a career coach or a sports performance coach. And I didn't know much about that. There weren't many people who were doing that. But I saw that coaching aspect was one of the things that I think that God was calling me to and that I was able to step into and embrace as these moments were happening organically. And it brought clarity to what I was thinking about and what I was going through at the time. I think also there have been some very valley moments for me when my dad left when I was really young and being raised by a single mom and the importance and the value of my grandparents and coaches and family and friends in my life that helped raise me and help invest in me as well, that helped me become the man I am today and still growing to be. I start to look back at those moments and I've drawn clarity about why some of the bad moments happened in my life. Maybe not complete understanding of those, but to understand how God was working in and through all of those moments and through people as well. And so that clarity I was able to draw from by reflecting on those moments and then being able to cite what the clarity was in my own life. So as you think about that, and again, bringing it back to the process that you would go through, it's looking over the last week or the last month and thinking about clarity that you've had from those data points. And on a side note, it's a process. You may not draw clarity from certain moments. You may still be working that out, but we need to be engaged in that and to work out through that process the clarity that comes from the moments and experiences that we have. And then the third piece of this Ralph Waldo Emerson question is about action or insight. So what has become clear since we last met? And he was also asking that question, what insight or what action will you take based on the clarity of those moments in your life? Because it's great to have moments and it's great to draw clarity from those. But if we just sit back and we don't do anything with that, then we're not walking out into the calling and the purpose that we have. And so I hope this encourages you today. We're going to be doing a 3 or 4 part series on this. So there are going to be several sessions that we go through. I'm also going to interview some friends who I believe are working out and living out their purpose. And I'm really looking forward to sharing those interviews with you as well. But for this week, I want you to think about what is that personal mission statement or purpose of why you exist, and what is that? Maybe you've developed one in the past, but it's time to think about that, pray about that, and draw clarity from that, and maybe refine it. I don't think you should be changing your purpose every week or every year, or this isn't equated to New Year's resolutions or anything like that. Your life purpose is the purpose for your life. But how that plays out and the calling and how you walk that out could be different in different seasons of your life and different stages of your life. But it's very important that we get in touch with that because we want to be on point on our purpose and on task with what God has called us to do in the one life that we have. And as always, with our purpose and with our calling, we want to make the most of the moments in our life.